Today I'm going to tell you about a strategy that, with two indicators, will create very significant signals for you. It's a strategy with an excellent win rate. And with the trick I'm going to share, you can consistently earn signals. I recommend not missing out on this strategy because it truly helps improve your profitability. This strategy can be excellent for all markets, including gold, forex, crypto, and even stocks. Please stay with me on this channel. First of all, a special thanks to all the friends who send me their trading strategies on Telegram. Friends who would like to send me their trading strategies can find my Telegram ID in an option provided there, and you can contact me. At the end of this post, we will also have an analysis on Bitcoin to see if Bitcoin, its trend can become bullish, or if the downward trend will continue. So be sure to stay with me until the end of this post. For this strategy, which I really think is a very attractive strategy, we need two indicators. The first indicator we use is DMA or WMA. Hey, when we add the indicator and go to the settings section, I will change its color to yellow so it can be seen better, and we click on the input tab and set the length or period to 100. I highly recommend using this indicator in your analyses and trades because it shows us the trend very well. For example, currently our trend is a downward trend and we should only take sell positions in line with the downward trend and not look too much for buy positions. As you can see here, the trend has been downward up to the point where we experienced a reversal trend and the candles started to come above themselves. But the problem is that this indicator gives us a lot of false signals. For example, if we want to trade based on this indicator, for instance, if we enter here, yes, we can stay with the position we took up to this point. However, the point is that, for example, here it is broken again, and after 2 or 3 bullish candles, we might see a drop again. So the false signals are too many and can mislead us. So we need to have another indicator, another confirmer. We go to the indicator section, select Ichimoku and oscillator, which are detailed by this person. And as you can see, an oscillator opened for us and we need to go to the settings section and change our settings. Based on this method, we need to make some changes here. The first change we make is to set the conversion to 9 and the baseline to 26. We set the Senko B to 45 and the lagging span to 9. We don't make any other specific changes to the rest of the settings and click OK. So, what does our trading method look like? As you can see in this section where we are now, let me highlight this area. From here onwards, our trend has been mostly downward. Therefore, we can take a short position here, sell, and move with the trend downwards. So if we take a short position here, on what basis are we doing this? Based on this arrow that exists, if the arrow was pointing upwards, we would buy, and if it was pointing downwards, we would sell. So here, it has given us a sell signal, which we are executing. We enter on this very candle, and above the existing swing we can say that we place our stop loss here. We look for a take profit of 1 to 1.5, and here exactly our first take profit has been hit within these candles. But the important point is that if you are looking to increase your win rate and your R bars, you can use this WEMA with your position. For example, here where we are, you can almost, this area above where we have stabilized the WEMA, you can take a position, meaning you could have gained a 1.5 R bar from this position. As I mentioned, correctly identifying the market trend is very important. Here, if you look, we received a buy signal. Well, the existing trend was a downward trend. Even if we had taken a long position according to this strategy, for example, if we had taken a long position in this very candle, we were looking for a 1 R bar. It would have been possible to get a 1 R bar from this position. And if we were looking for trailing, this position would have closed with a negligible loss. Well, again here, we received a sell signal. The trend is downward, we have the downward arrow, and above this swing that is there, meaning we place our stop loss above this trading knot. We have and we look for a 1 R bar or trail the position we have. For now we stay in our position and we were able to get approximately a 1 R bar from this position as well. An important point is that when you see that our trend is almost sideways, for example, if we look here, we can almost say that we experienced a sideways trend. Here, don't be too eager to take positions, and if you do take a position, try to exit the positions you have with the same 1 R bars that you set. For example, we did the same here. We are looking for him one by one. It can be said that our stop loss is set around here. So when our situation is sideways, don't look too much for a position. And if you do take a position, don't focus too much on trailing based on the WMA. Well, let's look for another position. If we want to take a position here, we can really exit this position with a profit. The point is, as we mentioned, the situation is sideways. Now, if we had taken this position, we would be almost above this swing. And we would place our stop loss accordingly and look for an R bar 1. Almost right here, our R bar 1 was hit. Now, even if we had done trailing, we would have exited this position at break even. Another important point that I will mention later is how you can consistently make a profit. Now, we had a drop, first a bullish move, and we had almost 2 to 3 bullish legs. So here we can enter our position with the position given to us here. So we set this as our entry point. Right here below this existing swing as the stop loss. And we look for our R bar 1. It's almost right here. Well, here our take profit was hit. And if we had done trailing, we could easily have taken an R bar 3.5 from this position as well. This method has 2 very important points. When you experience a reversal trend, you can enter a position. For example, here we had a downward trend. And after that, an upward movement started. At the beginning of this upward movement, we can enter a position. And don't be too focused on trends that, after passing half of an upward trend, they created a sideways state. Look for a position. The next important point is that if, for example, you take a position of 1/10 of a lot, try to take a position of 5/100ths of a lot in this method. Why? Because after you take a position once and it returns to the original, the second time increase it by 30%. For example, if you took 5/100ths, the next time you should take 7/100ths. And the next time you take a position, do it with 1/10. What is the point of this method? It is that you have reduced your risk. And considering that this method does not have many consecutive losses, I can confidently say that with this method, you can easily close your trades with profit every day. Before we continue with this strategy, I recommend you definitely visit the channel. I have placed very attractive multi-strategies in the channel. Whether you are trading based on indicators, Ichimoku, price action, ICT, ART, or various methods, I have included them in the channel, so you can use these methods. They truly offer good profitability for you. Create it. I recommend you definitely watch this truly unique strategy, or don't forget the English trader strategy at all, because it's really a strategy that, if you follow this principle and tackle the challenges of prop trading, it can help you a lot. Let's also do an analysis of the chart. We are working on the daily time frame, and let's see how it has been. We received a good signal which has been very favorable. The signal has been very favorable. If we come here and take a long position and place our stop loss below this swing, we can aim for a target of 1. As you can see, the situation has been very favorable, and if we had held it until now, we could have achieved a target of approximately 4.5 to 5 from this position, HY4, which is really quite profitable. That's why I suggest you reduce your position size a bit to be able to consistently profit in the market. For example, consider this scenario where we took a short position. And as I mentioned earlier, if we look at this more closely, we can see that the trend in the double EMA is actually quite sideways. Now let's assume that we have taken a position here. For example, you have correctly taken a position at 5 hundredths and are looking for a target. It can be said that our target was not hit. Let's assume that if we take that one, it would have had something. But let's assume that this position was closed with a loss. If we took a position at 5 hundredths here, when we come here to take a position, we take it at 7 hundredths. If this position also closed with a loss, we would take 1/10. Or we would take a position with 10% of the lot. And this very trend that is created causes you to close your positions with a profit every day. If we want to take a look here as well, you will observe that we also received a buy signal here. Exactly here, we placed it above the double EMA, and here we set our stop loss below this swing. We are looking for the 1 bar breakouts. As you can all see here, we were easily able to close this big position with a profit. Now, if we were looking for this, if we had done the trailing, we could have closed our position with almost a 2 bar profit. My recommendation is that when you change your chart, now I don't want the video time to go too high, try to adjust this Ichimoku strategy and oscillator based on the fluctuations you are using. Change these positions of yours to reach an ideal state. An important point is that many friends talk about not being able to make a profit with indicators. In the trading history I've taken, I am exactly using indicators, and I'm using very simple indicators. That means you shouldn't question a strategy that doesn't align with your trading method and claim without backtesting that this strategy is useless. Definitely test this strategy in my opinion. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we post very interesting trading strategies every week. Alright, let's move on to Bitcoin and have a look at Bitcoin. As I mentioned before, from now on I will try to have an analysis of Bitcoin in particular and other cryptocurrencies to see what their status is, whether they are going up, going down, and what the overall situation is. Today I will focus most of my analysis on Bitcoin. Considering that there are about 2 days left until the halving, we will have a comprehensive analysis of Bitcoin. Well, if you look at the liquidity itself, you will notice that almost around the 59,000 range, $1.5 billion get liquidated, which is a very large number, and we are not very far from this number. If we look from this side, almost around 64,000, which is about $34,000 higher, we have approximately $1.5 billion in liquidity. The likelihood of us moving downward is quite high, considering the history of halving. And if we go to our chart and look based on the strategy I mentioned today, we have received a sell signal, which indicates that bullish tendencies in this chart are quite high. However, as I mentioned, we cannot rely heavily on this signal we received here due to the double EMA we have. From the perspective of RSI and divergence, if we want to conduct an analysis, we can almost say that we had a negative divergence. So it was predictable to have a downward movement. If we want to look at the chart from the perspective of the EMA as well, we notice that the MA26 has broken downward and we are almost receiving a bearish slope. If the EMA26 moves upward, it can act as a resistance for us and create a bearish trend again. The current range is very important because if this range is broken upward, we can almost say that we might have a head and shoulders pattern here, and the bearish movement could continue to the 51,000 range. However, given the current situation, we cannot expect to reach the 51,000 range, and for now, we should wait and see the 50,000 range. If the 51,000 level is broken, it means exactly the bottom of this, The level we have here means we can therefore consider it a very important range for ourselves, the 5,000 range. We talked about the liquidity that exists below this area up to here. Well, if we want to examine this area, we should consider this bullish leg as a powerful bullish leg. Please note that this area where we are is the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level. The 60,000 Thoman is a very important psychological number, and this area of 59,000 that I mentioned to you can act as a very important support level for us. In general, we can consider this area as, therefore we consider it a very strong support area. If this area is broken downwards, we can expect the range of 56,000 to 52,000 to act as very important, and one might say vital support levels for us. An important point to note is that if we break this area upwards, we might consider the 65,000 area and even slightly lower as a significant resistance area for ourselves, with the EMA reaching this zone around 64,500 to 65,000. If we take a look at the liquidation heat map, you will observe that this very area around 59,500 to 600 is extremely significant, meaning the most important liquidity is in this area. As you can see, there are a lot of sellers around 7,000, 12,000 in this area. Well, if we want to look at the Bitcoin chart from an hourly perspective, you will notice that we have an order block here. This order block can be considered a very important area for us, especially if we reach the 50% area, meaning around the 60,000 limit. In my opinion, we can have an upward reversal movement from this area because this order block has been able to hunt all the liquidity that existed in the area. It seems that from here on, meaning around the 60,030 limit, we can experience a reversal movement. Another important point is that if we connect these two areas, we can almost say that we are experiencing a positive divergence on the 1 hour time frame. Therefore, the likelihood of an upward movement starting from this area seems much higher to me than the continuation of a downward movement. Now, we might have an upward movement and then experience a downward movement. Another important point is that it is more stable, and as you can see, it has almost reached the 5% area. This is a very significant indication. If a downward movement starts from this area, it can be quite normal for the situation, but note that we are reaching the RSI overbought pivot area, and there is also a very strong trading knot here that can hinder the upward EC movement. And if this area is broken upwards, meaning around 5.3, it is very likely that we will reach the 6.5 limit, which indicates that investors are exiting the market. Make sure to consider this dominance of tether. Another point to note is that we have almost a Fibonacci gap here. And we can expect that if a downward movement starts from this area, we might experience a decrease to around the 4.4 range. The next important point is that if we apply a Fibonacci retracement to this downward leg, we can say that around 5.16 we have a good resistance. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a high probability of a downward movement, which could be very suitable for Bitcoin and other currencies. Well, if we return to the Bitcoin chart, it seems that the area we are in is a low-risk zone, meaning at least we should make some purchases. It appears that the range of 60,000, 61,000 and even 59,000 are very good zones for our first purchase part. And it seems that we might be able to have an upward movement after that. So, when do we make the purchase? When we receive a bar and key bar signal from this chart. But for now, we haven't received any specific bullish signal. Thank you very much for being with me today as well. Please let me know your opinion about the strategy I presented to you. And tell me if you would like us to, from now on, analyze cryptocurrency charts, especially Bitcoin or